Hey there, I'm your host Zoe, and this is part 10 of the inventory series. In the last episode, we covered the hotbar, and in today's video, we'll be building the take function. So with that said, let's begin. Let's start by going into our content drawer and going to the inventory component. Now in here, we want to create a new function called check slots. And in here, we want to know about our container inventory. And this is going to be a type of item slot. And the reason is container inventory because we're taking from the container. So next we want to do a break. And from our own inventory, we want to see, does the container find any matching items in our player? So for each loop. And from here, I want to also do a break. And I want to compare both of these items. So does the item ID equal this item ID? And also, is the item quantity less than the max stack size? So let's get this, plug that into there. And let's see, is this less than the max stack size? And Boolean. Connect that in there. And then let's get a branch and connect the loop body into here. And we're going to return a node. We're going to need our Boolean, and let's also give it the array. So let's rename the index to just index and the return value to success. Now, if this was successful, we actually want this to be in there and this to be true. Let's loop this around. And on completed, once the array did not find anything, we're going to return a success false and a -1 value to indicate a null value. And with that said, we can compile this. And this could also be a pure function. Next, let's go ahead and create our take from inventory function. Inside here, we want to know about a few things. The first being we want to know the take quantity. Next, we also want to know about the source index and our source inventory. Now the take quantity is going to be an integer, the source index is going to be an integer, and our source inventory is going to be a inventory component. So let's get that object reference. Next, let's get a sequence connected like so. And on one, we'll have the update and the sound effects. So with that, let's grab our update functions. Let's also get a copy of the source index, or source inventory rather, and duplicate that. So we're updating both our own inventory and the source inventory. And with that, for the sound effects, what I'll do is I'll get slots. I'll do get a copy of the source index. And then I will promote this to a local variable called the local underscore source slot. And plug that into 0. On 1, we're going to get this and we're going to break this open. And from our item ID, we're going to get a row. 1 goes into our row. And let's give ourselves some space, plug in our data table, hide the unconnected pin. From here, we can do a break. Let's get our sound effects, do a second break, hide all the unconnected pins. And in this case, we are interested in the move sound. So let's hide everything but the move. Let's do play sound at location, and we can get the owner's location. So let's do that. Plug in our update events at the very end. And for the location, let's do get owner and get actor location. And let's plug that into there. Then let's go on to 0. And from here, I want to do a check. So let's get our check slots, connect that in here, and do a branch and connect that like so. Next, we are going to take this index and promote this to a local variable called local underscore matching index and plug that into true. Let's reroute this to make it look pretty. And here we'll have a second branch. We're going to check, are we taking the full inventory? So let's do take quantity. So is the take quantity equal to our source inventory, a break, the total quantity of our item quantity in there? Let's hide this on connected pin. Oops. Make it pretty, connect that in there. And from here, if this is true, well then we're going to get our source inventory. And I'm going to get my slots. And I want to set array element, and this guy is going to be empty. Let's split this open. Our index is going to be our source index, like so. And next, let's do, we want our own inventory. Let's just move this aside, give ourselves some more space. So let's grab our item slots to get a copy, and we want a copy of our own index. And do we have it handy? I do not. So get index. Oh, sorry, get matching index. There we go. We want the matching index. And from here, I want to do a break. And we're going to add this item to our take quantity. So our item quantity plus our take quantity is going to be promoted to the total quantity. So promote to local variable, local underscore total quantity, like so. And we'll have that going in there. Next, let's go ahead and see if we actually need the item ID. If this is going to be greater max stack size. Let's see if our quantity here is greater than the max stack size. And let's get a branch. And here on false, I'm going to get my create new stack. So if it is false, we're just going to set this to this item ID. Or I could actually even, yeah, let's drag this out and try to make it look nice. And the item quantity is going to be our local take quantity. And the index is going to be our matching index, like so. And if this is true that the max quantity is greater, or sorry, that the take quantity is greater than the max stack size, well, in that case, we're also going to create a new stack or simply update what we have there. And let's get this guy, put it here, and this will be the item ID. Now the take quantity, we will get the max stack size of this, put it in there. And for the index, we are once again getting the matching index like so. And bring that a little closer and press Q, even it all out. Now, after this, I want to do a reroute on my max stack size. And what I want to do is do take quantity minus, so we're subtracting our take quantity. So let's say we had 8 plus 3, which is 11. And that minus the max stack size, which for us is 10 in this case, would be 1. So the next available slot, if there are any, would get the 1 value. So here I'm going to set this now to the local total quantity. So we're updating it as we go. And let's do a second check slots. So I could actually grab this and paste it in here. Into the branch we go. And I want the container inventory, and we have it handy there. Oops. Get it and connect it into our check slots. Next, after promoting this to a matching index, I want to get my item slots once again. So I'll do this. And the index now will be this index here. I want to once again add this item quantity to my local total quantity. So let's do that. And from here, I'm going to see, is this, or first, let's promote this to our total quantity, like so. And here I want to see, is this greater than the max stack size once again? So let's get that. Very handy function. And plug it in there. So if this is greater, well then we are going to get a branch. Let's do false first. If it's not greater, we're once again just setting the stack with our information here. So let's put that there. Our item ID is going to be our source here. A break. We only want the item ID. We don't need the quantity. So hide that. And for our take quantity, item quantity rather, will be the total quantity. And for our index, this will just be our matching index, which gets updated as the function progresses. Now, if this is true, we are going to do fairly similar thing like we did over here. So I could probably get away with copying. Let's copy this part here and plug that into take or into true. Now I'll explain what's happening. So we want the local matching index. Now the max stack size is going to come from here, our local or our source slot, and we're going to do a break. Plug that into there. And let's also plug this into the item ID. And we can hide the item quantity. Bring this reroute down, same with this. So we're setting it as the max stack size if this is full. And then once again, if we have the 8 plus 4 scenario, that's 12. So 12 minus 10 would be 2. This value is 2, and it's going to loop and look for a matching slot. And if it doesn't find a matching slot, it's going to see, are there any free slots? So from here, I just need to make sure it's fine. Matching index, that's fine. So we're going to loop this into our branch where we have the second check slots. And let's reroute this. Oops. So we can select both, press Q, and that looks good there. And on this side, move it a little bit. So it'll loop, check again. If it finds something and on false, we are going to get a branch, plug that into here, and see, do we have any available slots? And we have a handy function in there. So let's take it, plug it in here. And if we do, we're going to once again do a create new stack. And this information will be fairly similar. Let's grab our source slot there with the break. For the item quantity, we'll do our total quantity. And for the index, we want the empty index, like so. And that's first part of our function done. So let's go ahead and see what happens if they do match, but if it's not a full stack. So we're going to get a branch, plug that in here. And I need some more space perhaps. I'll put that in there for a second. And in here, I want to first, we'll get our update stack. So we can redirect this into here. So control and drag to switch the pin. And on our update stack, this is going to run from our source inventory. And then the index will be our matching index, or rather get source index. And the item quantity will be our take quantity. So take quantity. Now let's do a branch. We want to see, is this item ID or the item quantity equal to 1? And if it is equal to 1, that means plug it in here and bring this back. If it is, we're going to add it to stack. Add to stack function. There we go. And the index here will be our local matching index. And the item quantity will put in as 1. Now let's say if it's not equal to 1. Well, in that case, I'm going to get my item slots again. So do I have it handy somewhere? Yes, I do. Like so. And this index is going to be our local matching index. We're going to break it, and item quantity plus our take quantity. So we have that here as well. We're going to see if the max stack size or the promoted value is greater than the max stack size. So this will go on false. And bring this down. Is this greater than the slot quantity? Now, if it is, we're going to do a very similar thing like we did here. So let's do false first. If it's not, we're going to add to stack. And we want to add our matching index into the index. And the item quantity will be our take quantity. Take quantity. And on true, I'm going to get my item slots again with the break. And from here, I want to see, I want to create a new stack. This will go in here. And I want to get the max stack size once again. So I have it here. Copy, paste. Item ID goes into item ID. This will go in the quantity. And hide the item quantity pin there. And the index will be our local matching index. And then once again, we want to update our total quantity. So let's grab this. Have it very handy here. Paste it in. Plug the max stack size in here. Reroute to there. Or maybe we don't have to even like that. Good. And from here, I want to, that's okay, create new stack, local total quantity minus the max stack size sets the local total quantity. Okay, so the next part will be, we're going to check the slots and do pretty much everything we did in here. So I think it's safe to say we can copy all of this except that part. And let's do a copy and paste. So this will go into our branch like this. And let's just run over this to make sure it's okay. So we're checking it, local matching slots. We're getting the quantity plus the total quantity, setting it to our total quantity. And if this is greater, or if it's not first, we're going to create a new stack with our item ID, local total quantity, and the matching index. If it is true, we're going to do the same thing like we did at the top. Get our source slot, plug it in as the item ID. And then this will be the matching or the max stack size. We're going to update our total quantity and then loop back again. And on false, it's going to see, are there any available slots? Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, this is a pretty big function. Now, the last part we need to cover is what if none of these slots actually match? So we're going to go from false to a long branch down. And in here, we want to get our any available slots as the condition. So from here, I'm going to promote this to a local variable called local underscore available index. And let's go in true, make a little reroute. And first, let's see if the take quantity is equal to the container's quantity. So I'll grab my take quantity and do a equals of the source slot. And we want the quantity here. Let's also remove this item ID pin. Don't need that there. And this will go into a branch. Like so. And we are going to get our source inventory. And then I'm going to create new stack. Item ID is going to be empty. Item quantity is going to be empty. And the index is going to be our get source index. So this is just a shortcut of setting the array element with the get slots set array element. It's essentially the same thing, just saves us some time. So this will go into true. And let's bring that like there. And next, I want to create a new stack for this inventory. Or for our source inventory, rather. So let's get that and do a break. This will go into our item ID, our item quantity, and the index will be our local available index. And that's us done here. So on false, we are going to see if it's equal to 1. First, let's update our stack. So this will update all the examples, all the branches down below. And the index is our get source index. And we're going to update this stack from our source inventory. That's important. And the item quantity will be once again our take quantity. So let's see if our take quantity is equal to 1. A branch, plug that in there. And let's go ahead and see if it is. Well, then we're going to create a new stack. Again, based off here. Copy paste item ID into item ID. Now the item quantity will be 1 because it's just equal to 1, and the index will be our local available index. Connect it all. Skew to even it out, and I'll bring this a little closer, maybe too close. And this is going on true. Now on false, we're going to also create new stack. Grab this stuff here, plug it in there, and I want to see. This goes in there. I want, oops, move this out the way first. I want to see if the item quantity is going to be our take quantity. There we go. And the index is once again going to be our local available index. And with that said, that's the function complete. We can give ourselves some room for the update here to make it look a little a little better. Maybe bring this a little back. And yeah, so that's the function. Let's compile and save. Next, let's go ahead and open up our item prompt. So UI item prompt. And in here, we want to go to the event graph. And let's create a function called isPlayerOwner. Now in here, I want to get my player character. I want to get component by class. And let's get our inventory. We want to see if this is equal to the inventory we have in here. So click on components, get that, and we'll do a OR branch because we also want to see if it's equal to our hotbar because this is part of our own inventory. So search for hotbar and plug that into the second OR. Now we'll do a branch. And in here, I want to return a success. Let's put the boolean in there. Whoopa. And break it. Let's do success. And this is true. And this is false. Perfect. Let's compile and save. And let's go ahead and create a second function called isContainerOpen. Now inside here, I want to get my player controller. And I want to cast to my controller. Now from here, I'm going to get my player HUD. And from the player HUD, I want to get my container display. And I want to do a validated get. From this point, we have access to our get container inventory. So let's get that. Let's also do a validated get. And from the container display, I want to see is in viewport. Let's plug that into a branch. Like so. And if it is not valid, we'll do a return node. Can I return? There we go. Not valid. And we're going to have that going in there. If it's not valid here, it's also going to go into here. And on false, it's also going to go into here. Now, if it is true, we're going to check is player the owner. Get a branch. And if we are, well then let's get our text drop. And here we're going to set text. And if we are the owner, that means we're going to say store instead of drop. And if we are not the owner, let's do the same. It's going to say take on false. And then both of these will have a return node. So let me copy that. And the things I want to return are, let's do two booleans, one for success. The second one, let's do is owner. Won't really need it, but it's good to return it. And then the last one will be our container. So I can perhaps just drag that into there. There we go. And none of these were added because I put that into input. So let's go ahead. Oops. And do two of those called success and then is owner. So with that, if this is true, well then all of this will be true and I'm going to return my container here. So let's actually promote to variable and let's call it the container inventory. And let's bring all of this back into here. And then we have easy access container inventory, plug that into there. And in here, we're going to return success, but we're not the owner. and we're also returning the container. Now in here, I'm returning nothing. Everything is false. And let's do a reroute. Drag that into there. And let's plug this into a second reroute, making it look a lot cleaner. Okay, and this is our isContainerOpen function. So let's save that and go back into the event graph. And in here, we want to get our isContainerOpen and implement it at the very beginning on construct. Next, let's go ahead and open up our item slider, and we're going to essentially create similar functions or the exact same functions in our item slider. So let's go ahead, save this and open up our item slider. And let's begin by doing isPlayerOwner. And we can go into our item prompt and steal all of this, copy, paste, plug that into here. Whoops, like that. And if I compile and save, I should be okay. And I am. Okay. So that's one function. Let's make it pure. Or yeah, let's make it pure. Is the other function pure? I don't remember. Container. No, it's not pure. So let's not make this pure. Let's go into item slider. We're not pure. And let's also get our container function. So copy all of this. Close both of them down. We can save our item prompt, close it, and in our item slider, create a new function called isContainerOpen. And in here, paste like that, and compile, save everything. See if we get an error. Oh yes, this should be a create variable container inventory. Well, let's refresh that. Compile and save. And it all looks to be valid. Okay, close those down. And on event construct, we can also add isContainerOpen, just like so. Next, let's go ahead and get our drop button because we need to update it. So put button is cancelled there. And let's get ourselves some room, disconnect that. And on here, I want to get isContainerOpen. And the first check we're going to do is it open, so success. And the second check, I want to see if this container inventory is equal to the container inventory. Or rather, is this inventory component equal to the container inventory? And this would be the check. Now, if it is true, well, then we're going to get these guys, and I'm going to take my from inventory function on true. The index is our source index. The item quantity is our take quantity, but the source inventory is going to come from here. And let's do a reroute like that. And the inventory component is actually going to be our player character's inventory. Let's give ourselves a little more room. So get player character and get component by class. Like so, and this will be our inventory ppc_inventory. And this will go into the target. And that's looking great. So next, we also should remove this from parent. We've taken something, and on false, we're simply going to continue the code we had. So this false should actually come in here. So let's do that. And later we're going to have an updated function once we create the store to inventory function. So let's compile and save and give this a quick little test. Close everything. So let's pick up some items and see if our function works. So let's go to our container and see if I can maybe split this, drag it in here, take one, deletes it, becomes 2. And what if I take 2 mushrooms, deletes it, becomes 6. What if I only take the 1 mushroom, which is the full stack, deletes it, becomes 4. And what if I decide to take multiple, like 3, deletes it or takes away, and this becomes 5. Okay, so it looks like all of that is working perfectly. So this will be it for this video. In the next video, we'll cover the star function. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And as always, happy developing.